Hey guys, Renato Bezerra here. Today I'm on the Simon Katz Podcast show. Today we'll be talking about jiu-jitsu, life, and my experiences throughout my life. So let's do it.
Okay, guys, this is Simon. I am super excited to do one of the first podcasts I have out. In fact, this is the first filming of a podcast. I have my guest here, Toto. His name is Renato or Renato in English, but in Brazilian, it's Renato now. He's been killing me in jiu-jitsu for the longest time. Thanks for coming along. We're going to talk about, how jiu-jitsu has changed your life, why people should consider it, why parents should consider it for their kids. And really, I have some questions for you about how it plays into everything else out there. So I'm hoping you have fun. That's the point of the podcast. And, that's really what we're here for. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Dude, it's going to be great.
Let's jump right into it.
So brief introduction, Toto here, and I'm going to just call you Toto because I've been used to calling you Toto. His dad's a Brazilian black belt in jiu-jitsu, and Toto is a purple belt. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
How many stripes are you now?
So no stripes currently.
Okay.
I've been a purple belt for about, I would say, half a year now.
Half a year.
That's
pretty good time.
It's been fun.
Yeah. I mean, you kick my ass all the time, so I do know the belt color. All right, so let's start with the first question.
Let's do it.
What inspired you to go into jiu-jitsu?
Right. So that's funny that you asked. I've been around the sport my whole life.
Okay.
More so fighting in general, but when it comes to jiu-jitsu, my dad started taking me to the mats when I was about 4 years old. I necessarily, at the time, didn't know what it was. I was kind of just a kid running around in the gym while my dad would train. And I was just, I'd go around, jump on top of people, run away, and just like have fun with it. But it wasn't until I was around maybe like 5 or 6 is when my dad actually started putting me in classes. Whereas okay, now I have to pay attention and now I actually have to learn.
Okay.
And through that, I was having fun. I started to compete. I was winning. And I was just having fun with the sport. And then I was in 7th grade. I broke my arm. After I broke my arm, I came back. I trained a little bit, and I started high school. And when I started high school, I took a break from my freshman year until my junior year, and I was just focused on wrestling the whole time. And then when senior year hit, it happened to also be COVID at the time. I was like, okay, well, I can't wrestle. So I'm going to do what I know best, which is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's true. Your dad had an underground place kind of in B Street Boxing.
Yeah, so it's funny. B Street Boxing, we've been going there forever. Mm-hmm. And my mom used to do like personal training there with Dan Wong, and they had like their own cardio class with all her girlfriends and whatnot.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my dad would go there and train boxing, just messing around.
With Eddie?
Yeah, just fucking around, having a good time. Whatever.
And guys, if you don't know, Eddie Croft is like, they call him Eddie Primetime Croft. He's a really big boxer, or I think he won a bunch of.
So he does. I know he does have a WBC title.
Okay.
And very, very well-rounded boxer. Super great coach.
Really?
And
he beat me with a stick a couple of times during practice. I still love that.
Yes.
And Eddie, if you ever come down to this podcast or you ever hear it,
love you, Eddie. You're a great coach. Can't wait to get back in the gym with you for my fight camp.
So your mom was in it. You started doing it. Your dad did a little bit of training.
So I wouldn't say my mom wasn't necessarily in it. She was more so just supporting my dad.
Okay.
And it was more so something my dad started out with, and my mom was just happy he was doing something.
Okay.
And so out of all my brothers, my 2 older brothers were doing it as well, but they kind of fell out of it pretty quick.
Okay.
But I stuck with my dad.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
Good.
He just kept me on his hip. Yeah. Wherever I go, like wherever he go, I go.
That's awesome.
Wherever we're training, I'm training,
That's awesome. Hey, man, that's what a pops loves out of his son. And I'm sure he's like,
great.
It's a great ride along, so to speak, for him. And for you too. You always want to be around your dad. So that's cool, man. So you've been training since you were like very young at this point.
So I mean, it's crazy to think, but I've been training since I was 4, although I stopped in high school. And once I stopped in high school, I started college wrestling and this and that. I picked it up my freshman year of high school as a joke.
Okay.
As a complete joke. Like I was like, okay, like I do jiu-jitsu. So I was a multi-sport athlete throughout high school. I was doing jiu-jitsu, I was playing football, I was playing baseball, and I wrestled.
Has this helped? Because I've done some episodes on like college. Has this helped get you into any college?
How's the wrestling itself?
Or any of the sports you've done? Like, is it a big part of it?
It's on college applications. It's definitely something they want to see more so because they want to know what you learned from it and how it made you a better person.
Okay.
And it definitely did make me a better person playing all these sports. But the only problem was I was playing so many sports, I didn't know which one I wanted to dial in on.
You didn't focus on the one.
No,
but you know what
exactly.
Wayne Gretzky once said? He said, I read his like little bio. He also did a lot of different sports, and he said it made him a better hockey player because, he's just well-rounded, well-balanced, also like agility-wise and so forth. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely focus helps, right?
Well, I wouldn't even say it's a bad thing. It helped me appreciate the sport more.
Okay.
Because I would spend time away from it, and the time I spent away from it made me miss it more. So I was eager to get back out there. I'm eager to go kick some guy's ass for the fun of it. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
And it was just I could legally go in there, beat this guy's ass, and not get in trouble for it.
I know that's a big thing nowadays. You can't punch somebody without like
It being about liability.
It's crazy, man. When I was growing up, now I don't look like it, but I've been in like at least 20 fights. I've probably been in
maybe like 2.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If the friends, if the people from my childhood will tell you, like if you knew somebody here and they would tell you that I've been in a lot of fights. I've had more fights than girlfriends. That like I just love that aspect of it. And before I joined jiu-jitsu, I did Krav Maga for a while.
Right.
I did it for like 4 years.
You're level 3, correct?
Level 3.
I got you.
And listen, Krav Maga, whatever, it's good. I guess the way to put it is against anybody untrained, any training will supersede.
Of course.
When I did get in fights after Krav Maga, I was much more improved than before.
Of course, because of the training aspect.
The training, the distance, the in and out, it's aggressive. So when I started doing jiu-jitsu, it was kind of the reverse. It was
calm,
counter-offensive, calm breathing. So I had a hard time adjustment. And in fact, I think in my first jiu-jitsu class, I recall I was so aggressive, I was so tired, and I'm going to tell the audience, they're probably going to laugh at me. But I rolled with your dad had this girl in class. Her brother actually created monkey feet.
Yes, Sam.
Dude,
Yes,
Sam,
I do remember
her brother
Sam.
created monkey feet.
Yes.
The monkey feet, they sent me a sample. It was on the Joe Rogan.
It was on the Joe Rogan Experience. Yes, it was.
Small world. And then I remember rolling with her, and I was so freaking tired that I was laying on her chest.
Yep.
Really just passed out. And Sam was a decently attractive girl. I'm not going to go into this. I'm married, but I'm passed down on her chest, and she's like, I'm literally laying on her chest, and she's like, move or do something. And I'm like, I can't move.
I'm so tired.
I'm done, dude. I'm done.
Yeah.
And she's a sweetheart. She's a killer too. So
the cardio level is insane. And I say that because I come from a sport where in wrestling itself, you have to have the best cardio. If you're a wrestler at any collegiate level, your cardio has to be insane. And there's no other sport like it. I'm not being biased.
Yeah.
I'm being honest, more so because I've played every sport.
Yeah.
I've played basketball, I played football, I played baseball, I wrestled, and I've done jiu-jitsu. I've done boxing. And don't get me wrong, I'm still doing all my combat sports, right as of right now, because that's my career. Yet with all these other sports that I've played, there has been nothing like the cardio that comes with wrestling. But here's the thing. So I grew up doing jiu-jitsu, right? And then I transitioned to wrestling, and then now I'm back in jiu-jitsu. When I was making that transition back from wrestling to jiu-jitsu, it was by far the hardest thing that I had to do, by far.
Dude, that's crazy because wrestling is so hard. It's like the UFC has the most amount of champions that are with a wrestling background. And jiu-jitsu obviously comes in part of that.
Of course.
Dude, that's tough. Why was that? That's so interesting.
So it's crazy to think, Simon, but it's just transition because in wrestling, it's a constant go.
Okay.
It's a constant push. It's a constant like, yo, I'm coming after you. I'm going to tear you apart at a super fast pace that is super technical. Whereas for jiu-jitsu, they call it the at suave, right? It's relaxed.
It's weird.
It's so weird, but I love every bit of it. You're just relaxed. And every little detail in the gi, respectfully, all respect to like my no gi athletes out there. Love you guys. But being a wrestler, I love the gi more. And some people may think it's weird, but it's true just because I grew up training in the gi. But like I was saying, yes, training in the gi every little mistake you make,
you pay for it.
you pay for it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And, you know, I would say in the gi, what I've seen is, granted, I'm a white belt. I'm a novice or maybe a hobbyist, guys.
I wouldn't even call you a novice because you've been around the sport for long enough. You've been training under my dad for what, 4 years now, give or take?
2.5. 2.5.
Close enough.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been forever.
But it does feel that way.
Yeah.
And I've done the competitions a few times.
Yes.
I've won one.
Yes.
But I'm not the best out there. I don't even care for that title. But what I've learned is with gi, and correct me if I'm wrong because you've been around it longer. Is with gi, it gives you an advantage to hold an opponent down in a certain way and really control an opponent. So if you're very skilled and you've practiced that method of rolling or moves, you really have a couple distinct moves where you can completely take out an opponent.
So that's the thing, right? Yeah. It's something that I live by every day in my training is that drillers literally make killers. The more you drill a specific move, the better you'll get at it. And the common mistake people will make is they will, and don't get me wrong, I've made the same mistake too when I hop back into it or even getting ready for competition is they'll train so many different parts of their game whether it's guard passing or guard sweeping or they're sweeping from the guard, whatever it may be, that my coach even told me this, Gabriel Marangoni, black belt, awesome guy, even better competitor, even better person than he is a competitor.
What school is he at?
He's at Coyote Hill with me. So he's one of my head coaches there, one of my really good friends there too. Great training partner, kicks my ass every day.
Okay. That's scary, by the way.
Yes, it is scary for him to be. Yeah. you know.
Dude, I know I can't do anything against you. So if he kicks your ass, I'd probably I'm like a far in the wind for this guy.
But yeah, so he told me himself, and me and him have these conversations all the time, and I love picking his brain about when it comes to my training schedule and just my training aspects of like everything that I do, primarily because it's not just jiu-jitsu. It's everything else that I'm doing in those time frames that's going to affect my jiu-jitsu. But when it comes to the training aspect of jiu-jitsu, he said, everything is like a little laundry basket. The more clothes you put in this basket, that basket, whatever, it's never going to fill up. So you never know when you got to do laundry.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, but the more you focus on putting, okay, I'm doing this specific guard pass.
Yeah.
Every little technique from it, boom, this laundry basket, and just throw it in there, boom, 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 over and over and over again.
It's totally repetitive. I think the advantage and
it's insane.
And the kids nowadays, they learn it so much younger and they pick it up and they're like little killers.
Have you seen any of the AOJ kids? They're insane.
They're killers. I've seen Instagram where one kid jumps over another kid and does this and that, and I'm like, holy moly! And I've had a son, Leo. He's 13 months, 14 months now. I can't wait to get him
Congrats
in it.
again, by the way.
Thank you. I can't wait to get him in it. My dad never got me into these sports. He was always working and so forth, which is understandable, first generation. I'm not complaining, but I think it's so important for the development. And, and getting back to this street fight thing that I was telling you earlier, I was lucky that I've had a little bit of moves before the UFC blew up.
It takes you a long way.
It took me a long way, but goddamn, can you imagine nowadays getting in a fight with somebody on the street? You don't know what they're capable of.
Well, it's fun. I was in 6th grade, the first fight I ever got into, and it was simply because a kid wanted to play body shots with me. Yeah. He just wanted to, trade punches back and forth, but to the body. And it was after school. We go up to, there's like a church. So I went to Abbott Middle School in San Mateo.
Okay.
And there's a church right above the hill.
Yeah.
And in the church, there's like a little corridor or whatever. And we went in the corridor and there's like maybe 6 of us. So it's me and him and everybody else is just recording.
Right outside of God's house.
Right outside of God's house.
Oh, man.
And we just started exchanging punches. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm in 6th grade at the time. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know.
No, not
nowadays, I don't know if they fight or not, but you could catch somebody that's like skilled and you...
So he ends up like, so I'm thinking we're just going body shots, and he started punching me in the face. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Okay, so this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I remember I picked him up, I slammed him on the ground, and I like got on top of him. I was about to start swinging, and then his arm was right there. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna rip your arm off. Like I do jiu-jitsu, I'm gonna rip your arm off. And I armbarred him.
Oh wow, you're kidding me.
I swear to God.
Did you snap?
Did he tap? Did you snap? Or you were like, I'm gonna break it? I got pulled off the kid. And I was in 6th grade. This kid's name, what was his name? I don't remember. But if you're out there, if you're watching, hey, no harm, man. Years ago, I wish you all the best.
Don't contact us.
Whatever. If you ever see this, all jokes. All
Dude,
jokes
that's
aside.
crazy. And you know, I've always thanked God that I didn't come across. I mean, I didn't fight with punks, but you know, at a nightclub, it's a completely different setting. We're outside, 3-on-3, 2-on-2, drinks, you name it.
That's not fun.
It's not. It's not a good thing.
No, not at all.
What is your favorite thing about jiu-jitsu? It could be like, you know, that's a good question.
That's a very broad question.
And it's a very broad question, but you could give me like what really stands out to you. And I want to dive in further with like making money in jiu-jitsu potentially, which you kind of know, but where, you know, this is a gray area and it's an up and coming sport and it's bigger than it's ever been. But what's your favorite part about jiu-jitsu? Like, is it the techniques? Is it human chess? Is it the camaraderie?
So I think I would have to break it down a little bit more than just one thing. Okay. For me, it's always, every sport that I've played has always been, I've always been big on family.
Okay.
So for me, it's always feeling at home and feeling, being able to train somewhere where I can call home.
Okay.
And now that I'm I grew up, so I started jiu-jitsu at Marco Nascimento.
Okay. That's on El Camino here.
On El Camino. So it used to be in Foster City.
Okay.
And then they moved to El Camino. And then me and my dad were there for a while. And then we ended up leaving and we ended up at Half Gracie San Francisco. And we were there for, 12 years, I would say.
Wow.
So my dad still trains there.
Yeah.
But after I competed at the Santa Cruz Open a few months back.
That was at IBJJF?
Yeah, IBJJF Santa Cruz Open. Mm-hmm. I actually ended up leaving RGSF after that tournament and transferring over to train with Caio Terra and all the guys over there. Primarily, nothing against, you know, my people at RGSF. Sure. I love all you guys. Tay Crivello, great professor. Holland, Half, everybody.
I would say is one of my favorite people.
Yes. And I message him all the time. Me and him always go back and forth and just, you know, catching up and everything. Love everybody over there and nothing bad towards them. And I'll be over there to visit sometime soon, guys. I promise. Love all of you with all my heart. But yeah, so I ended up transferring over to Caio Terra, and it gave me a push that I needed.
Okay.
A push where I knew it was gonna make me a better competitor and an even better person, because it just opened up my eyes to life and what the whole sport is about.
And let me ask you that, and maybe you could give a little brief to the audience who Caio Terra is.
Yeah.
Maybe mispronounced, I apologize in advance, but just give me an idea of who that person is briefly, and then we'll get right back at it.
So Caio Terra is a 12-time Jiu-Jitsu world champion, 10 times no-gi, 2 in the gi.
So this is the real deal.
The real deal. So amazing coach, amazing person.
And he's young too, I think, right?
36, 37.
Than I am.
Something
That's
like that. He really, and he still trains with us, which is the best part.
Oh, he does. Okay.
He still trains with us, which is the best part. And it's just so incredible to be able to pick his brain about jiu-jitsu, because he's a jiu-jitsu genius.
Wow.
Every little position, no matter what it may be, he has it covered.
That's awesome.
It's insane.
And they're welcoming over there, and they
open
took
arms,
you on.
Open arm. Him and Nick. So Nick is also clothing. They're one of my sponsors. They sponsor like my gis and everything.
Okay.
Great human beings.
So let's talk about that. That's awesome. And I would imagine they're very competition focused there.
Yes, very.
That's
very.
Different than like a family gym, guys.
Completely.
And so is Half Gracie. They're mixed, right? I would say mixed.
Little bit of both. Half Gracie is more on the family side aspect of it, more than competition, and that's primarily why I had to get up and get going and make the move to Caio Terra, because I needed that push.
You needed the fierceness, and you wanted to compete, and you also wanted to, from what I understand, get into MMA.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk briefly about the sponsorships.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because people don't know what could happen is you could get sponsored to do these competitions if you're well known. So give me a little bit about that, how that works, how you can make some money off that, because that's very important as well. As a lot of people do this like religiously, but they haven't figured out how to monetize it or how to make money off it, right? That's a big one.
So when it comes to the sport, you can be anybody and you can be super good at it, but if you don't know how to properly market yourself and create a name for yourself, you're not gonna get anywhere with it.
Okay.
So when it comes to the whole thing, these companies want to see how much noise you can make and if it's in the way that they support it.
Okay.
Right. I'm lucky enough where Nick is able to sponsor me. Ul's Clothing is able to sponsor me and provide me with gis and provide me with the things that I need in order to be and compete at the best level that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do they sponsor me, but my hair product company, Little Legends Worldwide.
You got good hair, bro.
Curly hair. So shout out to them. Yeah. They keep my hair looking good.
That's
you know what
funny.
I'm saying?
I love it.
Right?
Yep.
Good connections. They keep my hair looking good. So Little Legends Worldwide, guys, check it out. Great company. So it's all about how you can market yourself to the audience, right? They want to
doing a podcast here.
Like doing a podcast, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like every little thing, but in a positive way that's going to shine light on the company to, you know, generate whatever it may be, whether it's people to check it out, buy a few products, or even, you know, recommend it to a friend if they're looking for something, which is super great.
And then like during, let's say, a competition where there's a lot of eyes, you're wearing their badge.
Exactly.
Or branding.
So with Ul's Clothing, for example, every time I go and compete, I'm always wearing their gear. I'm always wearing my Ul's Clothing gear. I'll have all my sponsors on the back of my gi along with my name and everything. So when I'm competing, everybody knows who I am. Win, lose, or draw, whatever it may be, people are going to remember my name.
That's awesome.
They're going to remember what I'm wearing. They're going to remember this, and that. Why? Because I stand out. I'm putting myself out there so they remember. Excellent. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to like these big time athletes in jiu-jitsu specifically, they're making money off these brand deals.
Yeah, they're making good money. Yeah. Especially the top.
Yeah,
right?
It's the top, but so it's hard to make money off jiu-jitsu, but it's possible.
I think, and again, novice here, I think it's starting to get really possible. Yeah, it's getting to like, I think Saudi Arabia made jiu-jitsu.
So Abu Dhabi
did.
Abu Dhabi has been really big around jiu-jitsu for ages now. Yeah. Because ADCC, correct me if I'm wrong in the audience, people, comments down below. ADCC originally started in Abu Dhabi or by a group of people from Abu Dhabi.
I know that.
And it grew on from there. So they really, I think it's either Abu Dhabi or Dubai, one or the other. Yeah. But they really, really love the sport of jiu-jitsu.
It's awesome. It's masculine.
Yes.
I mean, that's another thing we need to talk about is the
masculinity of jiu-jitsu.
The sport.
Yeah.
So, and they have the money, so they can make it what they want to make it.
So
and they're competing big time. They're not only doing that in like jiu-jitsu nowadays. I see them offering, $1 billion to a soccer player, a football player, international football player.
Jiu-jitsu's on the rise. It's getting to that level where people are like, oh, you do jiu-jitsu? Oh, damn, like that's crazy.
They know about it.
Exactly. And the money is starting to come with it. Like back in the day, if you look at a lot of the OGs of the sport, they had a really big struggle. Andre Galvão, Leandro Lo, if you listen to the podcast that they had, they specifically taught about how they were barely surviving off, I think it was like a cheeseburger for dinner.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
And they were really putting their bodies on the line.
Completely training 3 times a day and everything, biking home for 30 minutes or whatever it may be, and just to train all day. But the thing is, right, people will do everything they can to make it a living, whether it's teaching at school, picking up extra jobs until they could fully make it, their full-time career.
And you know what's interesting? I think MMA is the same way in some regards. Yes. I had... Surprisingly, before we moved into this warehouse, randomly the mover comes in. Salim is his name. He's trains with Khabib in
AKA?
Yeah,
San Jose.
So he did Bellator fights. He won a few of those Bellator fights, and he was a mover. And I saw his ears, and they were all puffy. And I'm like, bro, do you do jiu-jitsu? He's like, no, I sambo. So he was, he's like, I do professional fighting. But it didn't pay him enough from what he says, and he has a second job, like a company, so a moving company. Right. So even nowadays, even some of these UFC guys, I think they were, before becoming, obviously Conor McGregor or any of the other guys out there, Dustin Poirier, they had these little side jobs.
If you watched the fights last week, I'm not sure if you did, but they had the final of the Ultimate Fighters on the prelim cards. And two of the finalists for the lightweight finals, they were both like full-time teachers.
Crazy.
Full-time teachers, and they're fighting in the finals of the UFC, and they both ended up getting contracts.
That's crazy.
Which is insane.
That's awesome.
Right?
And they were teachers.
It's crazy to think, right?
I wish my teacher would use some karate or something.
It would be crazy.
Now, listen, I'm all for advancement, and it just shows volumes of. They literally had 2 jobs, and one wasn't paying.
Yes.
And then they took a shot.
Until it does.
And like hopefully this podcast.
Follow your kids. If you're out there, you're watching, follow your dreams. It will work out. I promise.
So one of your favorite things we just concluded would probably be
The family aspect.
the family aspect.
The family aspect of it, for sure.
All right, let's talk about something. Why you think someone watching today needs to get into jiu-jitsu or even into wrestling, but jiu-jitsu particularly because that's what we're kind of focusing on.
Okay.
So why is it so necessary for your mental mind state or for your body and mind? Because that's real ultimately what it comes down to.
Everybody has their own escape, right? Everybody has their own coping mechanisms with whatever it may be for their everyday life. For me, to get away and calm my mind down, whether it's being alone in my room or going out to the beach, because I love spending time at the beach, is jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Jiu-jitsu brings me that sense of release where I don't have to think about the outside world. I'm specifically only thinking about jiu-jitsu. I'm thinking about how I'm going to literally mess this guy up, how I'm going to pass this guy's guard, and how I'm going to strangle him with his own gi.
It sounds dangerous, but there's such a technique to it.
Exactly.
It's more like you're playing, as I mentioned, human chess.
Exactly. And with it being so-called human chess, that's how I like to view it, because it's not like wrestling where it's aggressive. You're constantly beating on the guy. You're constantly, getting out of there with cuts and bruises and whatnot. It's slowed down.
Yeah.
It's a slower pace. Of course, you could pick it up here and there, if you're losing by points or you need a submission, whatever, right? But as for somebody who's just trying to get into it, it's something that's going to open up your eyes into a whole new world.
Does age matter in this?
No, not at all. You could anywhere. Like I said, I started when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
I was training with Mike at FSA. Shout out to all my FSA guys out there. I was training with Mike, or my dad was, I should say, and I was just a little kid running around before I actually picked up a gi at Marco Nascimento. But you could pick it up at any age. I was teaching over at Half Gracie Pleasanton, the little kids class, 3 to 5 years old.
Let me ask another question. An older person wants to come in because it's happening a lot. People around my age go through a midlife crisis or something. So an older person, do you recommend it? Do you say, hey, prepare to get injured? Is there like a learning curve? Because kids pick up stuff like this.
So kids do pick up things a lot quicker than adults do. I do agree with that. If you are an adult and you're trying to get into it, or if you're on the older side, whatever it may be, and like your body's hurting, of course, take care of your body, whether it's like stretching, doing whatever you have to do. But when it comes to the sport, just be patient.
Okay.
If you be patient, the more work you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. And there's a lot of new faces that I see every day when I'm training at Kaioteha, because it's a lot of the tech workers that are coming in, or a lot of the people around the area that are just making their way into the gym for the first time, whatever it may be. And like being able to help and give back to these guys, or even just watch them from afar, it's insane to like see how their eyes just like twinkle up, like light up when they're just like, dude, that was so cool. That was so cool. Can you teach me that?
And what's funny is jiu-jitsu is one of those sports where, because it's so complicated, it's like a chess game.
It's like a puzzle.
It's a puzzle. And you're getting a lot of engineers that come through. It's no longer like that macho man that's like, I'm going to destroy everybody. It's like some guy that rolled up on a skateboard potentially, but he's a killer.
So it ranges from every size, from whether you're small and petite to a bodybuilder.
And I said skateboard, I meant to say electric one-wheel scooter, which is nowadays what's around the San Francisco area.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like what you meant is it's good for the mind because it gives you an escape.
Yes.
It's good, obviously, for the body because you're exercising.
And most importantly, it gives you that self-defense.
And it gives you confidence. Let's talk about that.
And both self-defense and confidence, right? Whether you've been picked on when you were little or picked on at work, whatever it may be, it gives you that sense of confidence. You walk in not necessarily feeling like you're the man, although, some people may, depending on how their ego may be, respectfully. But it's more so, you could protect yourself. You could protect those around you is what matters most.
That's the best way to put it. I think when you're in a room and you feel secure enough to handle yourself in a given situation against a bully or against a person that doesn't like you. It's also a deterrent, I would say, where they know you do it and they're kind of second guessing should they make a move or not if they know you.
Well, if they know, right? Because there's always people that don't, and they're just like,
But listen, your dad once said it to me. He told me, he's like, hey, you could tell by the eyes if a person is gonna come at you or is don't mess with the person.
Yeah.
And if they have that dog in them, right? We talk about the dog. And I said, yeah, coach, what do you see in my eyes? And he didn't answer.
You could see it. You could definitely see it in a person, whether it's in competition or out in the street.
Yeah.
You could see it in the guy's eyes.
Yeah,
it doesn't take much.
We're going to talk about competition because we both have done it. I've done it 3 times. 2 of those times was at a weird time in my point of things that happened like the days before. Mm-hmm. But you've done it like really professionally, which is the higher tiers. Before we do that, let's talk about how it is having a black belt as a dad. And obviously the black belt is the highest level of jiu-jitsu. Or actually not the highest, excuse me. Yeah. But like what we normally see in class.
Yes.
We don't see red belts.
Yeah, it's rare to see red belts on a modern day, but at the end of the day, the red belt is the highest.
Yeah.
But having a black belt as a dad has been one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me.
Do you look up to him like
100%.
he can? Now I did get a video of him beating you one time. That was the only video.
Don't have to remind me of it.
He's happy about that. So you would say
just having to catch the video when
we'll put it up here.
Okay, it'll be here.
Yeah, give me a little bit more. I haven't figured out how to use this whole thing yet. Again, so next time I'll have it up on the screen. We can watch it live. But give me a little bit more. Like, is he encouraging? Is he always think he's right because he's a higher ranking belt?
So I'll put it like this. My dad, I love him to death. Bye, if you're watching. I love you so much. He is really stubborn.
Okay.
He's a stubborn motherfucker. Like,
I'm sure your mom would agree.
Yeah. Yes. My mom's the one who says it the most. But at the end of the day, I love him and look up to him so much because, yes, he does want what's best for me.
Yeah.
But he allows me to follow what I truly want to do.
That's awesome, man.
And he allows me to be the person that I want to be when it comes to fighting. Because when kids tell their parents, oh, I'm going to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. I'm gonna do that. They're like, all right, be realistic.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, and I actually want to tell this just to put this out there. It's I actually almost joined the military about a year and a half ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
So this was like about almost 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was almost the biggest mistake I made. But something that really stuck with me was I remember walking into the recruiting office. And I talked to each branch, right? And I was sitting down with the naval branch. And as I'm talking to the recruiter, he's like, okay, so what do you want to do with your life? What do you see yourself doing, regardless if you join the Navy or not? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm going to be a fighter. He's like, oh, like MMA, boxing, what do you do? No, I'm going to be an MMA fighter, and I'm going to be a UFC world champion. That's awesome. He's like, okay, be realistic. And I looked at him and I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Like,
you son of a hell. I told him, I looked at him dead in the eye.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a UFC world champion.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. Yeah, he's like, well, what's going to pay the bills? I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Until I become a UFC world champion and it takes care of everything.
Then you'll see me on a yacht like Conor McGregor.
So you're going to see me on a yacht like Renato Bezerra. Yeah. I'm not the next Conor McGregor. I'm not the next Mike Tyson. I'm not none of those guys. I'm Renato Bezerra. Yeah. That's who I am. Yeah. That's the next person that I'm going to be.
I like that, man. Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
And you know what? Don't give up on that dream because you know what? Everybody that's successful that I've come across, they say the same thing. Someone tries to blow your smoke out, guys. So no matter if you're starting a business or starting a podcast,
follow your dreams.
Someone's going to come along.
Yeah.
Listen, even in this podcast, like this thing, I obviously put some money into it and try to make it my own, and I put some effort into it. People are like, why do you do it for? You know, like, why do you need it? Why do you need this? They're always going to try to blow your smoke or your fire out, or, you know. And
everybody that does it, it's because they're jealous that they didn't do it or because they're not doing it.
You know, I want to go deeper with that. I think it's... I think when people hate, and there's always hate, and there'll be, and I'm a little older than you are, actually quite a lot.
Not that much. I'm only 20.
I'm double your age. That's a lot. But let's just leave it at that. So next time you're beating me up, you're literally elder abuse on me.
Fair enough.
But you know, you learn it's always people that are hating, and not anyone in particular in this case, but it's people that are closest to you.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got to weed out the good and bad. So you got to be careful with that.
Well, you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. But you know what? You know, there's always a snake in the grass, so to speak. So you be careful. Yes. It's just my advice. I've seen it come around, And limit your time to, and this is advice for whoever wants to take it. Limit your time to people you truly trust and your family, like you said earlier in the broadcast or in the podcast.
100%. I 100% agree.
But yeah, it's cool that you're doing that, and I'm glad you didn't join the army because we got to do this.
Yeah, me too.
Not saying that's.
I will say though, it did come close. I was very close to doing it. I actually went to MEPS and everything, took the test.
Wow.
And I was sitting there, and as I'm sitting there, I'm like shaking. I'm like, bro, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Why am I here?
That's crazy.
And keep in mind, no disrespect towards anybody in the military. All respect to you. My sister, she is in the Air Force. She actually just got back from, I want to say South Korea, and now she's stationed in Phoenix.
Okay.
So all respect to you guys. Have
absolutely.
I got family in it, so
Absolutely. The guy that was building this place, veteran, he actually ended up living here for free for a while.
Exactly.
He lost rent. I said, bro, you can stay here. It's fine. And absolutely, I don't think that's a completely different topic. I won't get into this video. But they don't get enough respect.
Yeah. I'm here.
Yeah, that's good that you're here. All right. So we covered fights on a street. Have you personally been on a fight in a fight on a street recently?
So it has come close. Just because there was a little bit altercation while I was out. I was just out, let's just say that.
Uh-huh.
And there was a little altercation where this guy did something he shouldn't have been doing to one of my friends.
Okay.
And it didn't end so well.
For him?
Pretty much.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so BJJ, guys, that's another question that I was going to ask. Does it help you in a fight?
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%.
I think it, from what I've learned, personal experiences, it keeps you grounded.
Yes.
You don't panic.
No.
And
discipline.
And you're disciplined, you don't panic. And then you're able to also, I would say, correct the wrong behavior by knowing your techniques. So you could be at a bottom or disadvantage.
Having full control of your emotions.
Yeah.
And having full control of emotions allow you to dictate what your opponent will do next.
Yeah.
And how you're going to correspond to it. Because you need to be able to be at least 2 or 3 steps ahead of your opponent at all times.
So question, chokes or leg locks or locks? Which one? Ooh. That's a tough one.
So I'll put it to you like this.
Uh-huh.
I'm a heavy guard passer.
Okay.
And I have a little bit of secret stuff that I keep under the rug that people only see when they compete against me.
Deep under
the rug. It's like my little secret, my little secret sauce. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But I will say I do like attacking chokes more.
Okay.
And it sounds weird, but I like hearing the breath get cut off when I'm choking the guy.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's very deep.
It sounds
it's
weird,
too deep
but
for this podcast, but
it's true. Hey. Cut it out, keep it in, doesn't matter. Don't care.
For me, chokes, because they're, you could put someone out on the street.
Well, it's not only that, but if I know I tire the guy out and he's breathing heavy, I know I got him.
Good. Yeah, for sure. And then they start panicking.
Yeah. And that's when they start panicking, and that's when I completely take over.
While we're on the topic of jiu-jitsu,
yes.
What does the ranking system mean to you? All the way from, say, white belt to black belt. Again, we're not going to talk about red belts because...
That's only, so it's rare.
That's different.
Yeah. So for me, only being, I would say, a little bit more than halfway through, it's very hard to be able to speak for all the levels, but training how much, like the time that I have put into it, I have an ideal understanding of what it is.
So would you say, and just to kind of get a little more specific, would you say ranking is based, well, I guess it's a twofold. There's a time you've put into it and your skill level, right? And then there's the competition level.
Yes, right. So there's these 3 different levels. Competition level, the guy's typically to be held back a little bit more, primarily so he could win these titles to prepare him for the next level.
So, so with that, are you saying there's a lot of blue and white belts that should be like a purple belt out there?
Depending if they're on the competition scene and if they're really going to Worlds or going to Pans or doing these high level competitions, then yes. Okay. But if it's just a hobbyist, no. You'll typically, and especially if they're on the older side of the spectrum as well, you'll typically see them progress through it a little bit faster just because as you age, your body and whatnot. But I'll put it to you like this. White belt, it's like you're learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
It's like you're learning you're finding your balance. You're finding
killed in the first few months.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's every little thing. When you're a blue belt, you're starting to understand how to ride a bike. You're starting to understand the motions of it, how it, turns left, how it turns right. Okay, cool. How you could go down a hill super fast. Yeah, hit the brakes so you could slow down if you need to. Once you get to around purple belt, that's when you really start to develop to the point that you're either going to become a guard player, a guard passer, and that's where you kind of establish yourself. And for me, being a competitor and being a purple belt as well, the purple belt is a kind of a make or break deal. It's either you're going to become a full-time competitor or you're going to become hobbyist and maybe compete sometimes. That's how I personally...
Or not at all.
Or not at all.
Yeah. There's a lot of purple belts we have that never have competed either.
Exactly. And you that's when they become hobbyists. Yeah. And same thing, a lot of times when people get their blue belts, they think they figured it all out and you never see them again.
So big question to Toto here.
Big answer.
Big answer's coming. Do you have to, or should you have to win a competition to be a black belt?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Very big answer. No. And why?
There's people who obtain their black belt without competing at all throughout their jiu-jitsu career.
And you don't think it's a prerequisite? Like you shouldn't once experience it in that 10 years?
I do think you should experience it if that's your type of deal. If not, maybe just go out there one time and see if you like it. Because a lot of people will push it aside just because they get nervous and whatnot. And they're just like, oh, it's not for me. I've never been the type of guy to, be under the big lights, put myself on the stage. But how do you really know if you've never done it or put yourself out there? I don't think that you need to win in order to obtain your black belt. Like I said, when it comes to the sport, it's a lot of dedication, a lot of discipline, and just training nonstop, repetitively, every day, and it'll come.
Yeah.
Studying the sport, studying the technique, the time will come.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you are competing and if you are winning and you're winning these big tournaments, the time will come a lot faster.
Yeah. For me, I was like, my thought was like, hey, you should compete. It's part of it. I think it's such a different dynamic because when you're rolling in the gym, you kind of get stopped here and there and you're training and they're not really going hard. And in a competition, they're really trying to kill you.
Yeah. Well, in training as well, you're training with the same guys. So they know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
They expect you to do that because when they trained with you before, that's what you did. So they're expecting the same reaction.
Yep.
Whereas when you go to competition, you may not have fought this guy.
It's a wild card.
It's a complete wild card.
And he could be an ex-wrestler.
It could be an ex-wrestler. He could be, he could be an ex-D1 wrestler.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or
judo.
Yeah, whatever sport it may be.
Yeah. So you don't know, but it's fun. Isn't that the fun part of it?
So thrilling.
I know.
So thrilling.
I was nervous the first time. I think I recommend, like, if you've never competed, and again, novice talk here, but if you ever compete, I recommend going there the first time without competing just to see it.
Just experience it.
Just to like breathe it in, right? Because, like my first time I went there, I was like, oh my God, this is kind of official. And like, you don't know you're supposed to wear an ankle bracelet and this and that. I've never even experienced it. Anyway, that's cool. So I'm glad you answered that. What it means to have different rankings in the belt. That's important. I follow your lead on that. It's a white belt is learning, blue is kind of you've learning to ride better, and then then like I was saying, purple it's kind of a make or break deal. When you get to brown, you're starting to understand a little bit more about yourself. You're starting to become more of a leader in the aspect of helping others. And then when you become a black belt, I feel like, and I can't really speak for all the black belts out there, but from what I've seen, it's as if you're starting. The journey's just starting. Yeah. It's starting over. It's not. You haven't reached. Because people think, I get a black belt, I'm done.
It's a new journey. It's a new journey as a black belt because it's really now you're a black belt. Now I have all these people looking up to me. What am I going to give back?
That's cool.
From what I've learned. Okay, but also what am I going to do with it? Am I going to open up my own school? Am I going to stay at the academy? Or if I'm just going to keep training?
That's another thing. I always encourage your dad to open up his own place. Told him before, because I'm a businessman, I'm not a full-time jiu-jitsu practitioner. I'm a family man and a businessman. And I tell your dad, I'm like, listen, you have 2 sons in your family that are, there was 3 actually actively practicing. You, Luan, and
Lucas.
And Lucas. Lucas is a nice kid too.
Yes.
And I was like, your dad's a black belt. And then he had someone helping him, Chen as well, who's a black belt. And dude, you got all the tools to open up your own studio your sons can help out, etc. So is there money in opening your own gym?
I would say that there is, but the hardest part is getting the people to come. It's finding the right location and getting the people to come, because I feel like the mistake people make in the sport is they see the money before they see the journey.
Yeah.
The journey of getting your black belt. Because once you start to enjoy the process of just training every day and really just having fun with it, the money will come.
Yeah.
But if you're just focused on the money when it comes to the sport, you're not going to have fun with it. You're going to dread it, and it's not going to be fun. I do think there is money to be made in a school. If you have more accolades, it's a little bit better. But at the same time, if you also know how to lead people and lead them in the right way, it will also come. The thing is, with my dad, he's just very old school, traditional, and he's at a point in his life where it's hard for him to do that.
Yeah, he doesn't maybe care for that part of it, or maybe doesn't want it.
But the thing is, I know he does.
I see. So deep inside, he wants to, but
I know he does. It's just it's hard with everything that that we have going on. But I've always promised him that I will do it for him.
And listen, living in the Bay Area, again, this gets back to it, guys. There are people. I mean, I've ran businesses here in the Bay Area where the cost of running a business in Ohio or Idaho or any of these other states is like 1/10. Now, mind you. Yeah, you may not be charging each student $150 to $200 a month or whatever it is, but it's not much far off. But your rent, your expenses, your energy, and all of this is so much cheaper. So to get like a place or a building,
especially around here, it's insane.
Thousands.
Yes,
like your margins are cut.
And if you don't have enough students to
then you're out of pocket.
It doesn't meet the ends, you know. And so, at that point, you're losing money.
So you guys got to open up your own studio. You got to keep them going.
Bezerra Boys Jiu-Jitsu coming soon.
That's pretty cool. I like that name. And
hey, listen, BJJ, Bezerra Boys Jiu-Jitsu, right there.
And your brother's a firefighter. God bless him. And
God bless
he's a blue belt. Very tough guy. Very ripped. I think the firefighters got him ripped.
Without a doubt.
All right. So how has your wrestling background, because you were also a college wrestler.
Yes.
And a lot of people, I put the earmuffs on because
you don't want to get cauliflower ear. And everything.
I don't want to get the. I mean, I've drained it once, and the funny thing is, my wife drained it for me, so that was a nightmare. So she enjoyed it too much, and then the ears we're talking about, they puff up and they look like popcorn.
Filled with fluid, yes.
Filled with fluid, so she drained it. But I don't want it. So when I put on the headset, they go, "Do you wrestle?" You know, and they're
like, "What?"
They test you out. I mean, again, this is a white belt rolling, but they ask anyway because a good wrestler seems to have a decent advantage also in the beginning stages of jiu-jitsu. Not in the deep levels, right?
In the beginning stage, I would say so when it comes to moving their hips and whatnot and finding the balance of it. But at the end of the day, depending, like I said, if they're training in the gi and no-gi, two different sports. If they're training in the gi, it's a little bit harder for them at the beginning because these guys have a little bit more experience with using the gi to their advantage. As for wrestlers, when they first get into it, they're like, dude, I'm being held down by somebody twice the size of me that's smaller.
Yeah, twice smaller.
Smaller, I should say. And I can't do anything. But the second one on our feet, I'll take them down. But the second we get to the ground, I can't do anything.
Especially in the gi.
Yeah.
Especially
in the gi. As for no gi, they have a little bit more leniency because
slip and slide.
Exactly. But I would say being a collegiate wrestler, I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not wrestling in college anymore.
And why did you stop? Wasn't for you? You didn't like being in school?
So we can get into that if you want to get into that.
It's up to you. If you want to give me a brief about it, or as deep as you want to go, without upsetting your parents or whoever.
Let's do it.
And again, that means you're a college dropout, or are you still in college?
So I'm still in college.
Okay.
So let's dive into it. But I really want to dive into it, actually.
Then let's do it.
So I started wrestling my freshman year, like I said, as a joke. After football practice, we were going to playoffs, and I was still on JV at the time. I was a freshman, a little scrawny freshman, weighing probably about 160. And the head football coach of the whole school, he goes, "Guys, please play a winter sport, stay in shape, this and that. We have all these sports." He starts listing them, and the very last sport he said was wrestling. I was like, "We have a wrestling team?"
That's funny.
Like, what? Yeah. We have a wrestling team?
Which college is this?
No, this was still high school. Yeah, so I was at Hillsdale High School my first 2 years of high school.
Okay.
At San Mateo. Yeah. And shout out Coach Peretti for football. And Oscar, I love you too. Wrestling, and Coach Diana, love y'all. Yeah. So he's like, oh, okay, boom, wrestling. And I was like, oh, Lucas did wrestling 1 year in high school. Maybe I'll try it out. I'll just go in for shits and gigs, whatever. Boom, I go in and I'm starting to find like a flow of it. But at the same time, I'm just having fun with it. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like I was just having fun with it. I started winning tournaments and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'm good at this. And then boom, I get hurt my freshman year. And I'm out the rest of the season. And I'm like, fuck, dude, like that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Am I gonna
How did you get hurt?
I hurt my shoulder.
Okay.
But it wasn't anything that a doctor diagnosed me with at the time. It just like I couldn't move my arm.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not going to go to the doctor. Like I'll be fine. Whatever. Yeah. Time goes by. Next year rolls around. Sophomore year now, and I go, boom. I play football again, and then I didn't think I was going to wrestle my sophomore year. I thought I was going to go play basketball because I grew up playing basketball as well, along with jiu-jitsu.
So did I.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, basketball, and Kiki plays it now, and Kiki's doing
pick
great.
Pick up a ball and shoot it.
Exactly.
You don't need people, you do.
No, you
it's
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I'm going to play basketball. I'm like, I'm so excited. Grew up playing basketball, 18 all 3 years in middle school. I'm thinking I'm the shit, whatever. And tryouts are coming along, and then there's wrestling. And my coach overheard me saying that I wanted to play basketball, and she got so mad at me. She literally didn't want to talk to me. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Why?
Because she wanted me to wrestle.
I see. She wanted me to focus.
She wanted me to focus on wrestling because she knew I could take it a long way, especially because of my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So then after sitting down and talking with her, I was like, okay, I'll wrestle. But with me wrestling this year, it wasn't for shits and gigs. It was, I'm diving into it.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw my life. I'm going to throw my social life away, and I'm just going to wrestle. And I had the craziest like experience my sophomore year. I went from a nobody to being one of the top kids in the whole Bay Area.
Yeah.
Knocking off all these top guys. And keep in mind, my sophomore year of high school, my head was pink.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "But who is this kid?"
What do you mean pink? You dyed your hair?
I dyed my hair pink.
Okay. And why did you wanted to be Sean O'Malley, or was he around back then?
He wasn't around back then. This is my own thing.
You started it.
I started this. Sugar Sean, you followed me. No, I'm kidding. So my nickname in the practice room was Pinky because I'd always wear pink. Pink's my favorite color.
Awesome.
I'd always wear pink.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, they called me Pinky in the practice room. I'm like, okay, CCS, which is section finals, is rolling around. Yeah. I dyed my hair pink.
Okay. I
go in there off the bat. I get the 9th seed, and I ended up pinning this kid. And everybody like, bro, who is this kid? And then I start winning.
Wow.
And I made it to the quarters, whatever. So sophomore year was kind of just like an eye-opening experience. I start going to all these tournaments. I'm winning some. I'm losing some to like respectfully really good guys. And then I get an experience. I go to Fargo, and for all my wrestlers out there, they know what Fargo is. And Fargo is basically the national tournament over the summer for high school kids, which is like if you go there and if you even participate in it, it's a pretty big deal. It's Fargo, and I think every kid, if you're wrestling in high school, you should experience it at least once.
So getting to that, should parents put their kids in wrestling?
Yes.
Is that like
in high school, middle school? Yeah,
yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah,
they should learn that. Would you do that over football? Or any of the other sports?
It depends if you're going to be a year-round wrestler. Depends what you like a little bit more.
I see, because it's a seasonal as well.
Yeah, so it's a winter sport, so it's right after football. It's right after football. It's the same time as basketball, so it's like you pick and choose. If you really want to go far with it and go to college, I would say you pick it over these sports and really dive into it.
But long-term, wrestling
could only take you so far because there's not that much money in it.
That's true. But okay, yeah. But not many people make it to the NFL. Like I'm sure one day someone from the NFL will come here. But
without a doubt.
But wrestling for a standard Joe, like an average Joe high school guy that's not a Division I guy or whatever.
Right.
Wouldn't it carry with you a little bit longer in life? Like you feel a little more confident? It carries with
you all through life.
Versus football is like, yeah, I could tackle, but
and I don't like, yeah.
And I'm not down to listen. Football. I played,
great.
Football. I played high school basketball, but not high school football. And I played like flag football leagues and all this, which is not hitting. Of course, it's a different mentality. But I would imagine just learning the skill set of wrestling or pinning someone down is more beneficial to life survival tactics than.
But there's so much more to it that a lot of people don't see. And it's the same thing when it comes to jiu-jitsu. It teaches you that discipline. It teaches you how to, have that confidence.
We're talking about football?
Wrestling.
Or wrestling. Okay.
I'm sure football does that for a lot of people as well. But the thing is with wrestling, it teaches you how to be devoted to something. It teaches you, if you're taking it seriously, it teaches you how to be disciplined. It teaches you how to be motivated.
Also,
it teaches you how to be consistent. And so, but that's the thing, right?
Unless you're in Russia, then it's like 3-on-3 wrestling. I don't know.
When they're
I'm
playing
not talking about dirty wrestling. I'm talking about like, you know, a weird fight.
Right.
Which they do. I've seen that on Instagram.
So yes, it's one-on-one, but at the same time, you have your whole team behind you pushing you. And that's what I love about it. You go out there, yes, an individual sport, but you have this pack of people behind you just pushing
trainers and coaches and really
and they're there every match.
Camaraderie.
Yes, 100%.
But you know, there's something to be said, I would say, against 5-on-5 sport where, you know, you are also encouraging people to perform live with you.
Yes.
Or a football game versus like a one-on-one mental challenge.
Yeah, and that's a difference between the wrestling and all these other sports. It's that one-on-one mental aspect of it could really either drain you or help you succeed. Whereas working with a team, it could drain you, but you could still rely on these other guys.
Like, exactly. So like let's even dumb it down to say tennis.
Yes.
Right. And I didn't mean dumb it down, but like let's say we're talking tennis, which is a more popular sport. You could lose in tennis a match and you could completely mentally break and not perform the second match.
Yes.
Versus where in a basketball game, let's say, you're playing 5-on-5 and you can miss the first 5 shots, but be in the game because your teammate, the shooting
rebound,
guard,
whatever.
they're back, they hit the last 3.
Exactly.
So you're still in it and that could turn and you're relying a little bit more on your teammates. Versus tennis and any one-on-one type sports, including wrestling or jiu-jitsu, you know.
You don't have much to rely on but your technique.
And yourself and your mental state.
Yes,
and you know what? David Goggins, I read his book, the first book he did, not the last one, Can't Hurt Me, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
He said that, you know, basically when he would compete with someone in something, he's like, I would take their soul.
Yeah.
So in wrestling or in jiu-jitsu, in competition, you could see when you took that person's soul, and people have done it to me.
It's the best feeling.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling. And I don't mean to sound like a weirdo or anything, but it honestly is.
You know when they're done.
You know, and it's like, okay.
Because it's one-on-one.
It's a mental game going back and forth. Like, it's who's going to give up first.
Yeah.
It's
you took every will that they've had or any bit of confidence to go up against you after that first pin or the first few pins or even the first tap. You know, I knew, you know.
And what's crazy, wrestling taught me that.
Yeah, that's key.
And I would think it would have been jiu-jitsu, but it's really wrestling taught me that, and it's helping me put that into my jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah.
Because when I was at Hillsdale before I transferred my junior year, yes, I started wrestling I was very focused my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And then spring season rolled around and I went to go try out for the baseball team. And as I went to go try out
How'd you do there?
Let me get to it. So I played my freshman year. I ended up getting the starting spot on the freshman team my freshman year. So I was super stoked.
Okay.
I was like, okay, because I loved baseball growing up. And I still do to this day.
Okay.
I love watching baseball, going to baseball games.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
love it. And it's just like another hobby of mine that I really
I used to love it. Now
doing.
I don't know why I can't get into it anymore.
I don't go as much, but I still love to do it.
Yeah,
Still
I would love the Giants games. I mean, when they
you have to cut.
This is before they didn't even have the ballpark.
Yeah,
I used to go to the old Candlestick.
Before they
Dude,
tore it
that was
down.
a fun little adventure. And Niner games there were different.
It's completely different atmosphere. Atmosphere. But like I was saying, like with like the whole wrestling aspect and what it taught me, I was going out to play baseball.
Yeah.
And throughout the week, I just like couldn't find a catch of it. I see. Nothing was working. I was like, dude, what happened? Like I was a starter last year.
Yeah.
Like what's going on? And then the last day of tryouts came out and I got cut and I was devastated.
Wow.
So the coach ended up cutting me and I'm a sophomore trying to make it at least on the JV.
Yeah.
And I got cut and I was like, fuck, I'm an embarrassment. I just got cut. Like, what am I going to do?
Man.
That's the best thing that ever happened to me.
So
that is the best thing that has happened to me.
This is kind of like the Michael Jordan getting cut in high school
type of ordeal. Yeah.
So what would you say? So let's talk about that because I think that's great for the viewers to know. I think if there's younger people watching this ever or whatever, in life, you want everything. You want everything.
But you don't always get what you want.
You don't always get what you want. So tell me how that made you stronger in your view.
So don't get me wrong. I was devastated.
You cried.
went to my locker,
You cried.
grabbed all my things, threw it in the trash, walked out the door with my glove and my bat, and I poured my eyes out as I walked home.
Wow.
As I walked home.
Walked home.
And I'm 16 years old at the time. I'm like, dude, like there's no way I just got cut from the baseball team. That same night, I left to Fresno. I left to Fresno to go to the off-season state tournament for wrestling.
Okay.
And that night that I left, I was like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to perform. And so I was supposed to fight in the cadet division, which is 16 and under. But by the time we got there, I had missed weigh-ins. So I was like, shit.
Oh, that's a tough one.
So they bumped me up to the junior division. So now I'm wrestling. I'm 16. I'm wrestling 18 and unders now. So I'm wrestling all the top guys in the state at 18 and under.
And at a heavier weight.
And at a heavier weight. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just go out there and perform. I end up making it to the blood rounds, which is the round right before getting on the podium. I think it was a 32, maybe a 64-man bracket, one or the other. I don't remember. This is my sophomore year, so this was a little while back. But I was like, okay, dude, like I almost just placed at the off-season state tournament against pretty tough guys, like guys that placed at state, the actual state tournament. And I'm like, okay, maybe I could do something with this. And my coach goes, look, if you really want to go somewhere far with wrestling, you have to leave Hillsdale.
Wow. Okay.
They
pushed you, honestly.
You have to get out of here. And I was like, okay, like I'll look into it. Cool. So as the summer goes on, I end up going back to Fresno for an off-season freestyle and Greco tournament. And as I'm down there, rumor had spread that I was transferring, and people in the Bay Area knew who I was in the wrestling community. And so like they started chirping about where I was going to go. And initially I was talking to Sarah and St. Francis. And those were the two schools. So I'm thinking I'm most likely going to go to Sarah. It's right next to my house. They're going to,
Tom Brady's from Sarah?
Tom Brady did go to Sarah. Yeah. So I was going to go to Tom Brady's high school, or so I thought.
Yeah.
I get to the state tournament, and two of my ex-teammates, now, but who weren't my teammates and who were just my boys that I always see at tournaments, they go, hey, we heard you're transferring. What's the word on that? And I tell them, they're like, no, you're going to come to Reardon. And Reardon's in San Francisco, right next to City College, literally right across the street. And I was like, what do you mean I'm going to go to Reardon? They're like, we already put the word in that you're transferring. And if you really want to come, we'll have all the paperwork done by Monday. I'm like, okay, let's get it done. But like, let's make it happen. Like, if you're going to succeed, it's going to be at Reardon. We have the best program at the time, respectfully. So I ended up making the transfer. But before I even made the transfer, the coaches didn't know if I was serious, if I was actually going to transfer there, because my paperwork hadn't gone through, this and that. So I'm just like waiting for my paperwork to go through. I'm eager. So they're not even putting their hands on me until they're certain that I'm transferring there. Boom. The paperwork finally gets through. They're like, all right, cool, let's get to work. Let's get to work and just watch how your game evolves. Keep in mind, Reardon's in San Francisco. I'm living in San Mateo, and I'm commuting to school every day because my parents couldn't take me to school. So I'm taking cow training and BART, and people who know what cow training and BART are, they know how long the ride could be to the city. I would take cow train from San Mateo to Millbrae, and then I'd hop off in Millbrae and take BART from Millbrae to San Francisco. I'd get off on Geneva, then I'd walk up the hill, take a right on Frida Kahlo, and boom, I'm at school every day. Same thing on the way back. I would leave, take BART, take cow train, or take BART and take the bus. 2-hour commute there, 2-hour commute back every day.
Wow.
But in the midst of that, I was just school, wrestling, that's it. And granted, my junior year, Reardon was an all-boys school until my junior year.
But it's a good school.
Great school. So it was an all-boys school until my junior year. I had no distractions. I just strictly
so now worked. It's not an all-boys school.
So my senior year, we went co-ed.
Oh, wow. Let's get into that. So all these college teams, high school teams, did it help you get the girls? Some people may want to know.
It's a plus. I would say
it's
it's definitely a plus.
What would help more, money or college wrestling or high school wrestling?
Confidence.
Oh, okay. So you're saying this goes back to, doesn't matter what you have, if you believe in yourself, you're going to get it.
That's how you hold yourself at the end of the day.
So let's sum it up to where the original question was, why did you leave or why did you quit wrestling?
Funny. So I finished off my career at Reardon. I was ranked the highest. I was ranked 20th, top 20 in the state of California by the end of my junior year. So I was super excited about my senior year. Didn't have it because of COVID. Boom. So I was getting lightly recruited by colleges across the nation, but not as much as I would have liked because it got shut down because of COVID. So I wasn't able to put myself out there like that. So I ended up going to Menlo College, which is here in Atherton. And I start wrestling. I'm having a great time. My first collegiate match, I blew my ACL.
Jeez. I remember that. That was like a couple of years ago or a year ago?
Almost going on 2 years. I blew my ACL out. My first collegiate match, first 30 seconds against some kid from Cal Poly.
Jeez.
Boom, done. Out for 6 months. I come back February, wrestled one match. I redshirted, wrestled one match, won that match. Off-season came, and I started training for my fights. But at the same time, the U.S. Open for wrestling was right around the corner, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll go test it out. I go to the U.S. Open, and my second match, I'm wrestling some kid from Michigan. Boom, I blew my shoulder out.
Jesus. So you've had some tough luck. And you know what? We should talk about that because injuries are part of this physical sport, right? Including jiu-jitsu.
Completely.
I mean, I did it and I broke a thumb. I don't know if you could see it here, but this thing doesn't look right. But everything hurts. And there's a joke if you do, jiu-jitsu at my age.
Your fingers,
it's a mess. So that's part of it. And
the injuries play
even if you're a novice or a hobbyist,
whatever it is, competitor, hobbyist, novice, whatever it is.
So you got injured, and this led to you quitting?
No.
Or
no.
Okay.
No. So that's not. I battled a lot of athletes go through this when they get hurt. Is they end up battling a lot of depression and anxiety.
Okay.
And I have struggled with anxiety my whole life, and I'm not afraid to speak about it because I'm very comfortable.
With
it.
Yeah. I mean, if you could help someone,
and I've learned how to cope with it as well. So for my people battling anxiety and depression, you're not alone. You're not alone, for sure.
Let's talk about anxiety first. Mm-hmm. What does that do for an athlete, or what does that do for a kid your age?
It makes them second guess themselves. Okay. It makes them second guess themselves when they're out on the court, out on the field, out on the mat, if what they're doing is really right. And even when they're off the mat, it makes them second guess what they're doing. Is it benefiting their game? When in reality, it could be the smallest thing that doesn't even matter. And it drives them almost insane.
Okay.
Almost insane because your thoughts just continuously run and run and run until you find a way to cope with it and you just relax.
Aside from marijuana, what's a good way to cope with it?
You just have to learn how to be comfortable with yourself.
Okay.
It's learning how to get comfortable with yourself in whichever manner. Because people are like, oh, do this, do that. So, use this substance. But I don't believe in that.
I'm not big on substances.
No, not at all.
But let me ask you, you mentioned jiu-jitsu from a young age, how to cope, how to relax, how to breathe, etc. Has that helped with
100%? And that's my getaway. That's my getaway from my anxiety and my depression. It's the jiu-jitsu that helps with that. And of course, the people around me as well, but jiu-jitsu specifically because I just forget about everything.
So why did depression kick in? Because that's happened so much now with kids your age. And when I say kids, young adults, I should say, but also younger than you. And even though I'm older, I still have some followers that are younger.
Of course.
Because of, things that I've acquired or things that they like or whatever.
So the depression kicked in, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of college athletes have gone through this, or athletes itself, or people who are non-athletes as well.
Yeah. It happens at all ages.
Of course.
Yeah.
I was on such a high coming into college because of my accolades. I was on such a high knowing that I am going to be a nationally ranked wrestler and potentially win nationals.
Okay.
And potentially be the next star at my college and all these factors. But the second it got taken away from me and life itself kicked in and I didn't have my outlet, my output, what I do to get away from everything, it felt like my world just came crumbling down. The second I blew my ACL out, I was like, fuck, what do I do with my life now? And then
because you're sidelined for so long.
Exactly. I'm out for so long. And then better yet, my ACL's blown out. Then I get COVID.
Oh.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm gonna join the military. And that's when that came in.
Thought about it.
Right? Then I second guessed. I was like, okay, no, I'll stay, whatever. And then I blew my shoulder out. And I was like, fuck, dude, again, I'm really battling this again. And then this time I had surgery because of my shoulder. So I was out for even longer, doing PT and just making sure I was 100% so I can come back. And it just really took a toll on me mentally. And I didn't know how to cope with it at the time. And I would just go out. I would party. I would drink. I would smoke. I'd do all these negative things that was just backtracking.
And it would amplify.
And it just get worse and worse. With alcohol being a depressant
Yep.
and the smoking just making me think more.
Yeah.
And it just took a toll on me so much that by the time that I got back, not only was I so out of shape, but I just wasn't in the right mental space.
Of course, so to do anything positive.
To do anything positive. So I get back.
It's so hard to get out of that.
The cycle.
That cycle. Well, people that drink and do drugs, they mess up the next day.
Yeah.
In reality, because then you can't restart. Like
Exactly.
no one wants to restart with a hangover, right?
Yeah.
So
it's learning how to. It's being able to manage how much you do of each, if you are to do it. I would say, like, I have nothing against people when they do it, and whatnot. But it's just learning how to manage it, because when I was going through that and I finally did get cleared, I finally did get healed, and I started to wrestle again, or just started to work out again itself, I was still in that mindset of, I'm just go out and party.
For the people that are in that mindset, or your young age, young adults, etc., what is some advice? I'm sure depression leads to suicide thoughts. Suicide thoughts lead back to nowhere, or to like really crazy things.
Right.
And it's, listen, everybody has probably had them in their life.
Yeah.
So, but what got you out of there? What was, say, one or a couple things that you feel like would help somebody else if they're in that state? So, an athlete that
I got kicked off the wrestling team is what got me out of there.
Okay. So that really didn't depress you further.
It did, though.
It did?
So here's the thing. I was doing all the wrong things when I was hurt. I was going out and partying. I wasn't being the best student. And keep in mind, my junior, senior year, I had 4.0s at Reardon.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing great. I said, I was coming off a high. And then after getting hurt, I was doing all the wrong things. And my coach, he started to pick up on these things, and he called me out for it. Mm-hmm. And even when he called me out, it was almost as if I kind of just ignored it. And it's funny because I actually talked to him about it the other week, and because me and him we're on good terms, and I have nothing but respect for the guy, and it's always love for the guy, despite the fact that I got kicked off. And I wish him nothing but the best, and the team the best, and I'm still gonna be there to support every single one of them. And who knows, maybe I'll get back on the team one day. Fingers crossed.
So you could still have that chance
for my last 2 years at least.
So coach kicked you off because you were effing up. That's really it.
In a sense. So I was effing up, and this big thing happened where I went out. I didn't have that many drinks, I didn't think, and then I woke up the next day with no recollection of what happened. And
we don't want to talk about that.
I won't dive into details about what happened. Yeah. But it led to me getting kicked off.
Trouble.
I wouldn't say trouble necessarily, because it wasn't like anything too crazy. I personally think it's funny what happened, because it is, and I'll tell you later. Yeah. But
people are going to want to know what it is now. But
right?
I mean, if you don't want to share,
get to know me more.
This goes out there.
Yeah, I know.
Don't incriminate yourself.
It's not on that level, which is good enough. But it was like the final straw with my coach.
Yeah.
And it kicked me off the team. And when that happened, this one was a heat. Okay. When that did happen, it put me in a spiral. I packed up my room. I was ready to leave. And I was like, okay, I'm done with college, dude.
What did your dad say when this happened? He was pissed or just disappointed?
So I didn't tell anybody besides the people who already knew. The next day I called Lucas, and I was like, yo, like this just happened. What do I do? He's like, go to the hospital. Don't tell mom and dad yet, but just go to the hospital.
You had alcohol poisoning?
Pretty much.
I've had that before. It's not good.
But it was either that or it was roofie. Or I got roofinol in my system.
You roofied yourself to take on somebody,
I got roofied by somebody else, of course, right? It was one or the other, because when they ran the test at the hospital, the following day, supposedly.
By the way, that stuff's not a joke.
No,
guys.
it's serious. It's serious.
Like whoever does that stuff, or even
you're messed up,
dude. It's like, it's sick.
Yeah.
So
I ended up. Anyways, I ended up in the hospital, and supposedly alcohol is supposed to stay in your system for up to 48 hours.
Yeah.
By the time they tested me the following day, there was no alcohol in my body.
Weird.
No alcohol in my body. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm assuming I got roofied.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, which makes sense, I guess.
But so leading from that day on, I was like, dude, I don't know what to do in my life. Like, do I just get up and leave? Because I had such a big rep at school where I was like this outgoing guy. Everybody's always sees me. I'm always smiling. I'm always saying hi to everybody.
That impression of you.
To the complete opposite, where I wouldn't leave my room. I wouldn't talk to anybody.
Wow.
I'd wear a hoodie when I'd go out because I was so embarrassed.
So you got kicked off. You're embarrassed, and then this gets you into the next phase of your life to get out of depression, is what you mentioned. So
yes,
them kicking you off, jet started something.
It jet started. It jet started something because as this was happening, I had a fellow classmate who was doing the exact opposite of what I was doing, or as in the sense of coping mechanisms. He was just making it worse for himself, and I was like, that's exactly what I don't want to do.
Wow.
That's exactly what I don't want people to compare me with.
Yeah.
And
that's great. Sometimes, a role model comes in a reverse pseudo card or a reverse where
completely
they're not the best example.
So my friends, they go on to say, they go, you're going to walk out with your head up and your chest out, and you're going to own up to this, and you're going to move forward, which I did. Yeah. And it was funny because the other day I was sitting at dinner with one of my boys, and he goes, honestly, dude, I thought you would have transferred and just left, and just because of how embarrassed you were. Yeah. But the fact that you're still here with your head up and your chest out as if nothing happened really is inspiring.
Dude, tough skin, man. Tough alligator skin, as they say. You got to have it.
And I stayed, and honestly, it's one of the best decisions I've made yet.
So your goal here is you saw, let's say you're in this depressive state.
I saw an opportunity.
Let me summarize for the viewers. You're in this depressive state. You're at a low point in your life. Yes. You have anxiety. But you also saw somebody that you don't want to be like.
I saw somebody.
And we're not going to mention names.
No. So I'm not mentioning names, but I saw somebody who's doing the complete opposite of what I wanted to do. He was necessarily.
And when you say that, was this person messing up?
Completely.
Okay. And completely. You said, hey, in 10 years, I don't want to be that person.
I said right now I don't want to be that person.
Even better. Okay.
I said
so they were your age around.
Yeah, they're a few years older than me, but like only a class above me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, right now I don't want to be that person because I'm better than that. And
you made a move.
I made a move because with the depressive the mind state of being depressive, the more you feed into your thoughts, the worse it gets. But the second you start having the positive affirmations and the manifestations, everything will turn out for the better. Everything will start to pick up and be better off of that. But you have to be there for yourself first and foremost. And yes, that may be hard for some and they may feel alone at first, but I promise you, once you're okay with being who you are and being alone with yourself, everything in life comes so much easier because people just hold you at such a higher level than what you already hold yourself
Trust
at.
me, the older you get, the more alone you want to be.
Well, no, don't get me wrong.
I'm sure your dad hides in the bathroom or something.
When he's driving. When he's driving, it's a long time.
Talk to anybody.
Yeah.
It's like the Russian Uber drivers.
Something
just
like
silent,
that, right?
And goddamn well, they've gone through hell somewhere along the line.
Something like that.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear. Well, thank you for sharing that, by the way. Not many people will admit to it, which is a very scary thing nowadays. And it comes in all forms. I've been through hell and back in many things as well. And everybody has. And you know what it is? I think this comes back to this whole thing of the pressure on the younger generation nowadays. It's like, they're all flossing these cars and watches, and they're all acting like the world is perfect. The girls are putting up perfect pictures that they've taken 50 freaking times, and everything's peachy. It's peaches and cream, but that's not the world.
It's all sugar coated.
It's not the world.
All the stuff they're posting is all sugar coated, dude.
It's all BS. It's
completely.
Not the world. But to the viewer,
they enjoy it.
Well, you enjoy it. Listen, I enjoy a few pictures here and there too, but
I'm not saying I do. I'm not saying in particular. Honestly, I don't like social media.
Well, what I'm trying to say to it, and I think it's a front, right? I mean, it's a good marketing thing.
Yes.
Zuckerberg got rich off it. He's now in MMA, but which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it enables people to show a different lifestyle, but it also hurts the viewers because they feel like, well, why isn't my life so perfect? Or why it's not perfect.
It's not that it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
First and foremost. But the problem that people have is that they compare themselves so much to these other people that it just drains them. It hurts them. It hurts them because like I said, I am not the next Conor McGregor. I am not the next Leandro Lo. I'm not the next this person, that person, whoever it may be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I am the next person of course, I am the next Renato Bezerra.
Yeah.
I am the next me.
You want to be better every day.
Exactly. 1% better every day.
Yep.
I am going to continue to be the next me. And that's how people have to think.
I respect that highly. And I think that's a good mindset to have. Let's go to the next question here. I'm going to get rid of this question because some people will be upset. What's your favorite BJJ gym, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym? We're not going to talk about that. I think that's a little biased.
That would be biased,
We don't want to hear anything. But I do want to ask you, what does the future hold for Jiu-Jitsu based on what you've seen it grow? And a brief answer on this one. And then more important, what does the future hold for you in Jiu-Jitsu or in your MMA career?
For the sport itself, it is growing incredibly right now. And I think it's going to be something that's known all around the world. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be something that everybody will be doing within the next, I would say, 15 to 20 years.
And I want to add to that. I think it's actually incredibly grown, just like you said. But it's growing at such an exponential rate that I think it's going to be a financial sport or something people will get into, or you're going to start seeing big brands sponsor it.
I think big brands will start to sponsor it. I think a lot more money will be thrown into it. Yeah. And I think it's just, if you look at ADCC, for the next ADCC World Championship, it's in the T-Mobile Arena.
Do you think they're going to start testing at ADCC?
Oh, fuck no. Fuck no.
The steroid Olympics, they call it? Or what
steroid Olympic. Whatever you want. All respect to those guys. One of my training partners, Mason Fowler, love you to death. He competed at ADCC. He went, I think he went 2-2 last year when he competed.
That's
but competing at that level
is
insane. And even one of my head professors and my really good friend Gabriel Marangoni, he won trials.
Yeah.
And dude, it's insane to be on that level.
Or even in there.
And be in there. Yeah. And just as the sport is evolving, all eyes are on you is incredible.
That is probably one of the most organized events.
Moja seems doing a great job.
Yeah.
He is doing a fantastic job.
And in addition to that, we should add that with Tom Hardy doing jiu-jitsu.
The celebrities.
Who else?
What's Thor's name?
I'm bad with names.
Is it Chris Hemling?
Yeah.
Chris Hemling. Something like that.
Chris H.
Yeah, Chris H. What Thor?
Yeah.
He's
kids.
Doing it. His kids are doing it in Australia. Yeah.
You got famous podcast guy Patrick Bet-David. His kids are doing it. Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan's a black belt.
Yeah, double black belt.
Yeah.
Is that even a thing? Double black belt?
No.
Or is it just a black belt?
He's just a black belt.
Got it. In both gi and no gi. And then, and for the viewers, a gi is like,
it's like a robe,
a pajama.
Yeah.
And no gi is shorts. But Zuckerberg coming into it, I think that's big. And
it's
then
a big thing.
And Elon
it's a big
Musk.
deal. So yeah, Zuckerberg's training with Mikey Musumeci, and Mikey actually used to train at Caio Terra with Caio.
Wow. Yeah. That's San Jose, right?
In San Jose, yeah. So so he's training with Mikey now, and Dave, I think it's Dave Camarillo from Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu. That's who he's training with.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. So a fight between Zuckerberg and Elon Musk.
Oh, I'm Team Zuck all the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you want Elon to win, or
biased.
do you want Zuck to win?
Being super biased right now, only because my mom's old boss used to work at Facebook.
Oh, okay.
But
so I support.
It's not that I got the support. I don't have to support anybody if I don't want to. Yeah. But the reason I say Zuck is he looks more fit. He looks like he's more dialed into it. It's not even that he's younger. He's just focused on it.
What about weight? That's
Who cares?
A big thing.
Zuck looks, not Zuck, Elon, he looks like fat.
Yeah. You've seen his yacht picture. Maybe editor, you could put up his yacht picture on here.
Yeah, put it right there, please.
Put both of them up and see which one looks better. And
definitely.
And you guys comment below. All right. And then what does the future hold for you? Is there a little MMA sprinkle in there?
Yeah. So I was actually supposed to fight on July 22nd, a few weeks ago, or a month ago, I should say.
Yeah. A local amateur fight?
So it was going to be an amateur fight, but it was going to be on Uriah Faber's A1 combat card.
And you met Uriah Faber?
I've met him. I met him, I think it was about 2.5 years ago. I went up to train at Team Alpha Male with all the pro guys and everything.
In Sacramento?
In Sacramento. Had a great training session with all of them. I trained with Mike Malott, proper Mike Malott from Canada before he even got into the UFC, and love that guy, Uriah, everything he got going over there.
I think he just got signed somewhere.
Who, Mike?
Yeah. Just I've seen something random.
Well, so he's in the UFC. And
I think. So he re-signed maybe.
No, he just. I'm pretty sure he just signed a big fight deal with them.
Oh, okay.
Congrats, Mike, if you got it. He is killing it right now. Yeah. All first round finishes. I think he's 8-0 right now. All first round finishes. Something like that. Tough guy. So I was training up there and everything, and then I was supposed to have my fight July 22nd. So originally, I was supposed to have my fight last year.
Okay.
Blew my shoulder out. That didn't work. Then I was supposed to have my fight on July 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Had a fight camp. I felt great going into it. The week before the fight, I get a text message saying, "Hey, your fighter just pulled out."
Wow.
Why? He couldn't get cleared because in his previous fight, he had gotten a cut under his eye, and it was about a month before.
Yeah.
And the doctor wouldn't clear him because it hadn't healed enough.
And they couldn't find a substitute. It doesn't work that way.
He was like scrambling to find another fill-in for me. And then he like came across all these guys, and then I was like certain on this one guy. I was like, all right, cool, like let's do this one. It's my amateur debut. Like I'm gonna go out there and I'm a scrap.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, Camo won't allow it. And Camo is basically like the California Federation of MMA for amateurs. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't fight him. And then a few days before, he's like, okay, I found somebody. I'm like, dude, I'm like 3 days out.
Wow.
You got to let me know like way before, dude. Like,
so you were pretty bummed about that.
Oh, 100%. I was ready mentally. I was ready physically. And I was just ready to go out there and scrap.
So briefly tell me, what does fight camp feel like? A lot of people don't know. What is
if it's a full...
they watch UFC prep or whatever, but realistically on an amateur level, what do you do?
Highs and lows, dude. It's a mixture of everything. A fight camp will either make you feel really good about yourself or really shitty, depending on the day. One day you could feel great. One day you could feel...
Physically, what are you doing?
A lot of bag work, it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. It's a lot of repetitive work of whether it's striking, groundwork, ground and pound, taking the guys down, submitting them, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
it really
whatever
depends.
Coach wants.
Not even whatever coach wants, but what I know the guy's going to throw at me.
I see. So
study your opponent so you could get the common reaction of what he's going to give you.
Wow.
So then, okay, if I do this, he's going to do that. And then I'm going to take him down and I'm going to submit him from here.
That's crazy.
And vice versa. So
you were ready.
Yeah. So for my future of MMA, everything's still in the works right now. I should be fighting come October. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Nothing signed yet.
Where is this fight? With Uriah again?
I'm not sure if it's going to be on the A1 Combat card or I think it might be on Crown Fight Nights.
Okay.
I'm not too sure yet. And that if it is that one, it will be in San Jose.
Dude, you just got to get in one.
Yeah, and that's the plan. Get in one and ride it from there and see what happens.
Yeah,
and then
get in one, get in another,
and just go.
Yeah, that's really it.
As for jiu-jitsu itself, I do have a super fight coming up in a little less than a month.
What is it called? Way to Fight or what is that?
No, so it's not Fight to Win. It's Submission Pro Tour, so it's a different organization. Yeah. And so I'll be fighting on that card September 16th up in Sacramento, alongside with my professor Gabriel Marangoni. So that should be a really good card.
But this time you're like you've really trained because I know they don't play over there.
I'm dialed. I feel pretty good about this one.
Dude, that's awesome. All right, man. Well, listen, anything else you want to add that I've missed that I didn't ask? It's your forum here. This is, I would say, been really fun for me as well.
This
and thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
But what do you want to add? What do you want to say?
I'm excited for what the future holds in my jiu-jitsu career, my fighting career, and just my life itself. Thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it. It's been a long time coming, and I can't believe I'm the first guest on your podcast.
I know, it's pretty awesome.
And here's to the future episode. And hopefully, I'll be on many more episodes to come.
You know what I like about you is you got this like positive energy. Whether you mentioned some setbacks you've had, but you've always had this good smile, and the smile goes a long way.
Thank you.
And everybody always struggles through something, and it's just human nature to battle whatever you're battling. But you've always had the smile, whether every time I see you, it's very welcoming. I hope you keep that up.
Thank you.
I wish you nothing but the best. I'm sure you'll come back to this. I appreciate you, coming on. As soon as I posted a picture of this studio, you were like, bro, what are we doing?
Yes.
And it has been a long time coming.
Yes.
So you know that. One more question from me. Are you getting a Kyotera tattoo? Because you do have a hat.
Dude, you're not the first one to ask that. You're not the first one to ask that.
Tattoo, show it right there.
I do. Yep, right there. Part of the family forever.
So
maybe after my first world title, we'll see.
Would it be on the other bicep?
Ideally. It's funny. It's funny that you asked that.
All right, as long as you don't put one patch over the other, it's
Yeah,
like
no.
a no-go.
Half Gracie will always be a part of me.
Yeah.
Will always be a part of me.
That's awesome. I hear a fierce guy too, so I don't know him too well, but cool, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you guys.
This podcast. I really wanted to bring someone that not only trains but also takes the jiu-jitsu sport seriously. Someone that's young, that's up and coming, and hopefully he continues on that path and makes a lot of great progress to what he wants to do. I truly believe in him. Very nice young man. He kills me all the time. I will say that I think I tapped you out once out of 1,000 rolls. Maybe not. No, I don't remember it either. All right. Anyway,
signing off. Thank you guys.
No worries. All right. Thank you guys. Catch you here in the next episode. We got some cool content coming. Keep fighting.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys.
Cheers. All right, bro. How was it?
That was fucking